everyone. I'm Melissa McAllister.
And I'm Dr. Lauren Fitzgerald, and you're listening to The Made Fitz Show.
So for years, we have dedicated ourselves to giving others the tools to feel their absolute best through the power of health, fitness, and nutrition coaching, as well as both Western and functional medicine.
Each week on The Made Fitz Show, we're going to talk about everything from health trends, nutrition, topics like HRT and medical weight loss, self-care, wellness hacks, different workouts, fasting, our favorite recipes, and more.
We promise that The Made Fitz Show will be educational, entertaining, but most importantly, worth listening to each week. Now, with small, dedicated changes, you can live a healthier, more heart-filled life. We're excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are simple to adopt.
We are a certified nutritionist and a board-certified medical doctor who have a combination of over 50 years in the health and fitness world and are passionate about empowering others to take the leap and live their healthiest, happiest lives by using the tools we give in this podcast.
All right, you guys, welcome to the Made Fitz Show. So we have a subject today that is very sensitive, I guess we should talk about, but I want to share in the beginning an episode I had, and I shared on my story, so some of you know what's coming up, where I have, so let me go back to the beginning. My goodness, go way, way back. Get comfortable, Lauren.
Oh, she's talking about sex.
I am. That, Mick and I have been together since I was 16 years old, and he's had an extremely high libido from the day I met him to today. It's stronger than it's ever been. And I remember reading a book, I can't remember what it's called, in college, but it was about, trying to, help yourself reach orgasm. And anyway, I got to the point that I found this toy, we'll just call it a toy, a bedroom toy, that was endorsed by Dr. Ruth. And I was intrigued by that because for you youngins, listen to this, you probably don't know who Dr. Ruth is, but she's just this amazing psychologist, I'm not sure, sex counselor, really, really tiny old lady with the sweetest little voice. And you could just listen to her and you didn't feel weird about it because she was just like your grandma. And so I would always,
Your grandma talking about sex.
Right. She does. Gosh, I should pull up her old stuff. You guys should. It was really good. But anyway, trying to help, because I'm in this relationship where we're at two extremities. So anyway, fast forward, I had bought that bedroom toy decades ago. And because we now have more than one home, I wanted to purchase two more. And I got a message, a text from the owner of the company, confused because nobody orders two of them. They're about $125. They're not the cheapest thing. And wanting to confirm because nobody orders two is exactly what she said. In her 25 years of doing this, nobody's ever ordered two. And I'm like, well, I am. Because it works really well for me. And so she said, okay. And I just got them as a matter of fact. So
what's the name of this toy?
Oh yeah. The Oscillator. So I believe you just go to theoscillator.com. But I'm telling you, Lauren, I'm tempted to buy you one. For women that have a lower libido, or you have trouble climaxing, I'm telling you that if you go to the website, me, science, there's a lot of science behind this nifty little gadget. And I just always.
And it's lasted you 25 years and it still works.
100, like it's brand new. You get your money's worth for sure. So Lauren and I were sitting here talking, and it's subjects that we can talk about to help you. And so we just thought, we would have a short part one here and just kind of talk a little bit about the male versus female, me being in a relationship. It's our 30th year. It'll be our 30th year of being married, but 35 years coming up of being together. So being with the same partner for so long, and still finding each other, desirable, can offer some things. Lauren's in a newer relationship. Lauren and I talk about this all the time because we're very close. Her drive compared to my drive, and the things that you do the things that you physically, that's important to you, emotionally, that's important to you. We were just talking about even common sense wise, what's important to you or what can work for you in your favor. If you are, I've had a lot of girlfriends, I almost want to say their name, but I won't embarrass them, that have very high sex drives as well. I feel like I'm one of the very few of my friends that I've always had a lower one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's normal, Lauren, and mix is just ridiculous. Maybe I'm
No.
normal.
Honestly, I think that once you let me help you optimize all of your hormones, it is going to come like I will be Mick's favorite person in the world. That's
You already are. You
out
already are, but yeah, that'd be great because for me, there were times in our marriage that I'm not kidding. I would have been fine with once a month. You know, this was during stressful times or when I don't know, we never saw each other. There was just times. And now to this day, I'm much better. I mean, I'm probably average Joe two times a week and I'm good. But he's 2 times a morning and evening. The pet's at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm out, but so we'll always be off. But
Yeah.
At least now there's that we're getting closer. And so I was telling Dr. Lauren that there's obviously hormones, like Dr. Lauren just said, that plays a huge part, which it absolutely does. But there's also where women are so much more emotional when it comes to that closeness than men are. And then I was being specific with her, talking about even the common sense. And I'll share what I shared with Lauren is sometimes you will look at your partner and maybe they're not at that moment in their prime. If you guys know Mick, he's got a wild hair story. He's got the craziest hair, but that man wants to have surfer hair worse than anything in the world. And so he's always trying to grow it out. And so when he wakes up in the morning, we make joke that he looks like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. Exactly who he looks like. And so I'll look at him and I'm like,
I don't want to have sex with Lloyd right now.
I'm not finding him very attractive in my mind. I'm not finding him very attractive right now. But then the common sense kicks in. It's like, be real, because there's times that I look awful or I'm dressed awfully or I've, drank too much. I'm super puffy or I worked out and it does not matter to that man. And so to work on that brain chemistry of it's a two-way street and he can see past that and still be very attracted to me. I can do that too. And that genuinely works for me. So I don't know if you've ever had this problem, what you do to help get you in the mood. If you are out of the mood for, whatever reason it is, maybe they're stinky. I don't know.
Well, I think the first thing that females have to do, and I know that we have all ages that listen to us, from the young people to people that are our mother's age that listen to us. I think that the sooner that you understand what gets you and what you like, what you don't like for example, I was so sheltered because I was raised in, a Southern Baptist, family, church, my community. Like I was super, super sheltered from a lot of things. And I'll never forget, because, I told you I graduated high school a year early. So I'm a freshman at University of Texas in Austin at 17. And my Psych 101 class, one of the basic, classes that I got, that I signed up for, 500 people in it. It was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. I don't remember the professor's name, but he was this older guy that was, gray hair, gray beard. And I remember it was a Friday. He told us all, okay, Monday is our talk about sex. You don't want to miss it. It's typically, a favorite lecture. So make sure. And it was so funny because literally I've never seen, everyone was there that day for the Monday lecture, right? So the one part that I remember specifically about it, because it was a little traumatic for me. So when he started talking about women and their pleasure, he asked the audience, by show of hands, ladies, how many of you masturbate? And I remember the fact that he asked that, I turned bright red. Like I was so embarrassed to even ask this. But then right after that, I couldn't believe how many people raised their hands. I didn't realize that was something that females did. I knew that boys masturbated because that was talked about. I mean, there was some boys that did it at church camp, and oh, heaven forbid, right? But
Yeah.
but then when I recognized like that was not, and I'm not throwing shade at my mom, that was just not a conversation she ever had about orgasm or pleasure or, you know, figuring out how your body works and touching yourself and all that kind of stuff. So I know that there are some females out there that were raised that way that might be in their 30s or even their 40s or beyond that are still at that place of like there's shame associated with that whole topic. And so those are the people that we need to buy the Ursulator for, or what is it called again?
Eroscillator.
There we go. But at the end of the day, if you are in tune with what your body likes and the connection between your brain and your body, that's the biggest first step. The next step is your hormones. And I mean, man, if you get your hormones optimized, you should have a libido. Now, will you ever have a libido like Mick's? No, that is not my goal. Y'all would not be productive members of society.
Oh, very true. That's funny. Very true.
But you should have some libido. And if you are a female listening to this and you don't have a libido, that tells me that's a red flag that your hormones are not where they're supposed to be. And working with, do you know that that's actually the only FDA approved reason to start a woman on testosterone is low sexual arousal disorder or whatever. I mean, there's so many other reasons why a woman should be started on testosterone, but that's not for this topic today. But I do, because for the audience, they need to know we're limited on time because you do have a meeting that you have to be at in a short amount of time. So when we were talking about if we wanted to film this quick episode, I think that sex is a topic that we should definitely dive into on, you know, deeper levels, big time. But I think because you've had this recent share on your Instagram stories, I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of open it up to listeners, and let's see, you know, what kind of things are you wanting us to talk about when it comes to this? Because your sex life, whether it's with your spouse or your partner, it is important. Like that's how God created us. We are sexual beings. And if you are not having that part of your life fulfilled, let's give you the tools so that we can help get you in that direction, you know?
Right. Yeah, totally. And it does go, I mean, there's so many different aspects that can be a part of it. It could be your stress levels. It could be your diet. It could be hormones. It could be, you know, just poor communication. There's so many reasons that spark, you know, cannot be there as often as it needs to be. It could be very much physical, of course, as well. I share with a lot of my clients who come to me and tell me that they have, you know, these issues, that I think what's really important for women to do, because it really helps me, is I always, and I'm very, very blessed. You guys listen to the episode with Mick. I know he loves me very, very, very much. And he tells me every single day I'm beautiful. And he's very, very good at that. And so for me, emotionally as well, is when I really start to think about that, how lucky I am, how blessed I am that I have someone that loves me so much, that wants to, you know, hold me so much, that really is a big deal too. So you have to get past, maybe your spouse isn't, you know, physically what you would consider yourself turned on to or anything like that. But when you start thinking emotionally how much they love you and how much they care for you and how much they do for you, I promise you that does raise a sense of arousal, because you really start to feel wanted and loved, and you know how much it means to them to be close to you. So that plays a really big deal, because sometimes we just think sex is physical, you know, and if I'm not physically, that's not Mick, I'm very physically attracted to Mick, but that some women just don't find their spouse physically attractive, that you need to get more to the error of the side of, but look past that. And how much does this person love you? How much do they do for you? How good are they to you? And that becomes very powerful. But we don't do that enough.
We were just talking about this just the other day, like truly you can, without listening to anything that is said between a couple, if you're a fly on the wall and you can watch their actions, I mean, actions are where you see love, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, you might not have a spouse that tells you love them all the time, but they do all of the stuff. Like, just look at their actions. Their words might not show it, but if their actions are showing it, like that right there has got to turn on that switch in your brain, like hubba hubba, you know?
No, I totally agree with that. And so I think that by number one, being real, that even though if there's not that at that moment, you know, let's just say first thing in the morning, they roll over and they've got really bad breath. But you're like, you know what? I don't have perfect breath either all the time, that you use that common sense, that, and then you also just really think about how much they love you on such a deep level that really does turn up the arousal. It has for me. I had to do that a lot because I was just so in my own headspace, and just, I got so many things to do that sex was like, you know, number 11 on my list. And when I moved it up, because I just really enjoyed the thought of, it's very important to make, he's physical touch. I'm acts of service. And so when I started thinking about how many acts of service that he does for me, that's the love language. And so I don't think we get into that enough. And if you haven't read, gosh, what is his name? But the 5 love languages. We were talking about this the other day when I was getting my hair done. One girl got engaged. It was so sweet. And we were talking, I'm like, do you know his love language? And does he know yours? And Mary Ann, she's 53, my hairdresser, because she just had her birthday. And she's like, I know these 5 love languages. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so important. So we went through all of them for her. And she was like, she knew what hers was. She knew what Joel, her husband's, was. But it was just funny that she had never heard of that. And if you've never read that book or know those, they're spot on. You know, I mean, you may have more than one, you know, way of you like to be shown love, but there's one that's always predominant, and that's huge. So it's John Gray, I believe. John Gray.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
It's a great book, and I'm sure you could get a condensed version these days of those 5 love languages, but make sure you know yours and that he knows what yours is, and that you also know his, because I could do acts, and I do. You have an act of service, you tend, or you have a love language, you tend to do the one that you like to your, and I mean, that man wants for no meals. I'm always making him beverages. I just always doing things for him because that's what I like, but he just wants me to hug him. Yep. I do so much more work than I need to, because if I just hug him and squeeze his butt, he's happy. That's all I can do. So,
and give him lots of sex. I mean, let's be real.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And then with me, he's so physical. He's always physically touching me, when he could show that with, acts of service as well. So I think that's really key as well. But I think in our part 2, that to really dive into the, there's like actual things that can be done, almost like I want to say a to-do list, but actionable items that can help you. You can go through, obviously, hormones, which ones specifically will make a big difference, diet. I'm good. This is going to sound terrible, but it's the funniest joke between Mick and I. Every time he eats pineapple, he always gives me this look, because of the the thought that pineapple helps. I don't know if it does, but I'll do my research for the podcast and help you guys out when it comes to how diet can help with, your you and your partner's sex life. There's on a multitude of levels. If you're honestly eating a bunch of really highly processed junk food, you're going to always be tired, never have the energy for that kind of a thing. But
and in part 2, we can talk, the medical side of not just low libido, but like stuff like erectile dysfunction. I mean, erectile dysfunction is one of the first warning signs that a man is going to have cardiac issues, because if blood flow is going low down there, you best believe it's going low to the heart next, right? So ED is one of the first warning signs that, like, you better wake up to start taking care of it. It's more times than not, it's not psychological, it's blood flow, and it's lifestyle 100%, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we can do all of the, we won't make it so geeky and medical, but I'll throw in the medical side of it. Cause I do think that there's some key hormone understandings that you guys can, take home and, take to your doctor and be like, hey, can I get these hormones tested? I'm just curious,
Yeah. 100%. So yeah, we can do a little bit of research for you. But again, like Lauren said in the beginning, anything that you specifically have struggled with for a long time, or, something you and your girlfriends talk about all the time. And it's just that air of, I don't understand why, because everything seems to be in alignment. You could have, be in the perfect marriage and have, what you consider the hottest spouse on the planet, but it's still not there. Why? So we can do our due diligence and definitely give you some tips and tricks and how to help that. And my two friends outside of Lauren that are would love to, ask them, a couple of tips as well. And then I can even ask Mick if you have, want to ask Ty or anything, it's good to get different opinions and what's important to different people, because everybody has these feelings one way or the other of sex, and we want to help.
Yeah, for sure. And since most of our listeners are women, I do think it'd be nice to have, I know Ty will definitely not be on the episode, but he would give me his thoughts that I could tell you guys. Mick, on the other hand, might want to make a cameo on that episode, because it's true. I mean, it would be nice for our female listeners to, hear a man's perspective,
Oh gosh, it would definitely.
You're like, ooh,
a rated R episode.
Yeah, maybe not. So, all right. Well, I still don't have my saying, so we can't end it. You're going to have to end it.
We can't end it. Okay. As always, Dr. Lauren and I, again, really appreciate you being here. Would love, if you haven't yet, to rate, review, all that good stuff. Download the episodes. It's very helpful for us. And we truly want you. Our mission is to make sure that you wake up and you just, whatever the day has for you, that you feel prepared. And then when you go to bed and you put your head on your pillow, that you feel proud of yourself. So you guys have a great day. Wow, we've reached the end. But before we leave you, we'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to us, your opinion does matter.
Now, the content in this episode is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.
Share this episode with anyone you think needs to hear this message. And please remember to do your part of the bargain by rating, reviewing, and subscribing wherever you listen to the Made Fitz show.
We are Melissa and Dr. Fitz, and until next time, thank you for your time, support, and action you take in your own health journey. You get one life. Let's live it abundantly together.